PKU is a genetic condition where the person can't break down one of the building blocks in protein, called phenylalanine. So PKU is short for phenylketonuria, and basically it means that their liver lacks enzymes to break down that building block. And if the levels of it get too high, then they get permanent brain damage.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who can't really work for someone else, that can't be told what to do. I did do that for a very long time, and I still ran my herbal practice outside of that. We lose control of his condition, and it can affect his brain in different ways. So it might be that he's hyperactive or very tearful or very rational, or he might get angry, or he might just be very tired and lose his concentration. We've seen him sometimes where he's like quite confused, a bit like a person with dementia.
Welcome. I'm Tracy Irwin and I'm passionate about financial independence and wanted to share stories of inspiring entrepreneurs to prove it's possible for everyone to strive towards financial freedom. Today, I'm talking to Hannah Charman. She's a medical herbalist and advanced hypnotherapist. And whilst doing all that, she's also caring for a son who has PKU. Thank you for joining me, Hannah. I really appreciate you spending this time with me today.
Oh,
Would you like to tell people a little bit more about what you do and what PKU is? Because it's a disease I've never heard of until I met you.
yeah, it's one of those funny ones that lucky sort of 1 in 10,000 get PKU. So
Wow.
um, PKU is a genetic condition where the person can't break down one of the building blocks in protein, called phenylalanine. So PKU is short for phenylketonuria, and basically it means that their liver lacks enzymes to break down that building block. And if the levels of it get too high, then they get permanent brain damage.
Oh, wow.
So you have to be very strict in terms of their protein intake. And they have to have protein replacement. My son has it 4 times a day, so that contains all the other building blocks without that one. And then we have to be very strict with his diet. And when the levels do go a bit too high, we lose control of his condition, and it can affect his brain in different ways. So it might be that he's hyperactive or very tearful or very rational, or he might get angry, or he might just be very tired and lose his concentration. We've seen him sometimes where he's like quite confused, a bit like a person with dementia.
Okay.
Um, so there's a lot we don't know about PKU, but that's really the gist of it. And it was found on his heel prick test, the heel prick test that babies have when they're a week old.
Oh, right.
It
Okay.
was
So it was
found there.
caught quite early on then. So how do you juggle being an entrepreneur and caring for your son? Because like you say, it takes like a lot of time to monitor his diet and making sure he's all right. How do you juggle that?
Well, being self-employed definitely helps.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who can't really work for someone else, that can't be told what to do. I did do that for a very long time, and I still ran my herbal practice outside of that. But certainly being full-time working for myself, that gives me the flexibility that I need to be able to do that. So in most households where there's at least one child with PKU, normally at least one parent would be working part-time in order to be able to care for the child.
Okay.
Um, so I've always wanted to earn full-time money on part-time hours, and it's just as well, really, under the circumstances. It's all kind of worked out quite well. So yeah.
So what do you do for people? How do you help people?
I basically help people who can't be helped by the NHS, because I found myself in that boat when I was 14, and I suddenly got sick with chronic fatigue syndrome. Literally in the space of 5 minutes, I went from being perfectly happy and healthy to not really being able to move.
Wow, that's
Um,
sudden.
it was very, very quick, and nobody saw it coming. So yeah, my parents kind of left me to see if I would get well on my own. They thought I just had some kind of flu virus or something, and I didn't improve. And I got taken to see the GP, and the GP basically said that I wasn't ill. I was making it all up to get out of going to school.
Wow.
Yeah. So thankfully, in the end, I got taken to see a homeopathic doctor, um, who was the total opposite of the NHS GP. And he listened to me, to ask me tons of questions, examined me, gave me medicine, gave me vitamins, told me I would be fine. And I walked out of there thinking, I want to help other people to feel like I do now. Obviously I did get better, and I saw lots of different practitioners. I saw a hypnotherapist and another homeopath, and then I did a Reiki course. And um, between everyone, in the space of 2 years, I was back on my feet, and that's really what put me onto this path. So I ended up as a herbalist, weirdly, because I went back to school. I've missed my first term of my GCSEs through my illness, and then I continued on, like, just about barely keeping it together for the rest of my GCSE course. And I managed to speak French in my oral exam exactly like a French person. So I won this book token. And with the book token, I bought David Hoffman's New Holistic Herbal, and that was what hooked me onto herbal medicine. And I went on to study at Middlesex University and get my degree in 1999. So that is my passion. Um, and it's kind of grown with me over the years. Um, I love it even more now than I did 26 years ago when I first qualified, and it's just the most magical, wonderful form of medicine ever. And I've since qualified as a hypnotherapist as well, and done exactly the same training that my parents did in the early 90s after I had my therapy. So yeah, it's kind of come full circle in 30 years.
It has. Your origin story is amazing. I love that. I didn't realize that you've been through something yourself to come where you are. So you mentioned before about having full-time income on part-time salaries. Like when we did our one-to-one after we'd met, like you set me on a ball rolling of this book that you that you recommended called Happy Money, and I think it's amazing. So I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
how do you link that? I mean, like the financial independence that you have now and working part-time on a full-time salary, how do you link that with your mindset?
I've always tried to be very authentic. It's kind of a bit of an overused word these
It is an
days,
overused word, in it, but sometimes it's a
but
necessity.
I've always kind of been very ethical in terms of how I'm doing my charging and working with my patients. So I have always gone to bed with a clear conscience, sometimes not with the bank account quite as full as I wanted it to be, but nonetheless, I'm like, I have done a good, honest day's work. I have done right by that person. And so taking money in return for what I'm offering feels fine. I think we get very kind of caught up in, like, oh, I can't possibly charge for that because I love it so much. It's like, but you're doing it from the right space. You have dedicated tons of time and money into training to do what you do, and you are doing it in a very genuine way. What's wrong with taking money? Yes, you should feel guilty if you're blatantly ripping people off and being dishonest, but that's an entirely different thing.
It
Um,
is. I think when people buy your services, they're not buying that hour that they're sat in your chair. They're
mm,
buying all the time that you've put in, like you said, about getting your passion, about getting your degree, about all the extra. I
mhm.
mean, I bet you've done a lot of courses, like just to try and
Yeah,
like
tons. I'm
keep
still
on
doing them.
still doing them. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but I
So
mean, that's the difference. If you've got all that training and then 26 years experience behind you, you can do in 10 minutes what a newly qualified person would take an hour to do,
yes.
because you know what questions to ask, you know what herbs to use, you just know your stuff.
Yeah, and just
Um,
because you can do that in 10 minutes doesn't mean you charge less. That's kind of
exactly.
some people
Yeah.
think they struggle. Like I was talking to a client the other week who she'd been asked to do something via the internet rather in person, and she was asking about prices, and I was like, but you can price the same.
Your time costs the same whether you're online or in person. Yeah,
Exactly. Her content is still as good if she's online or if she's in person.
absolutely.
And it was her own block that was saying that it's not worth as much, but it is because she's worth
Yes.
as much.
Yeah. We do
So
have some
she went away
funny,
happy.
yeah, we have some really funny attitudes towards money, don't we?
We
It's quite
do.
interesting.
We do. So what was your biggest take from Happy Money?
Um, just the whole that money is energy, and that's where the word currency comes from, like electric current, it's flowing all the time. And I used to have this thing where it's quite funny. I still find myself doing it sometimes. So say someone gives me a £10 note for a particular thing,
Yep.
I keep that particular £10 note for that particular thing. I can't use that £10 note for something different.
That's weird.
Yeah,
And
and that's just like one of the mad things you notice about the way you look at money.
it is, we all treat money very differently, don't we? And it's like, I've been back to England and I've been to Stockholm this year, and I don't know what the Stockholm notes look like. I never saw any money, and it was quite a shock. And I was like, how have we got to this point where I actually don't touch any money at all?
Getting well, it makes you wonder if it's even real in the first place.
Well,
Because
is
every
it?
time you use your card, someone's being charged for that. Like the banks are creaming a little bit off that.
Yes.
So
I,
is that money even real?
I know. It's like, where is it?
But if you've got a note in your hand, that's real.
Yes.
Or is
And I
it?
think
I don't
that's
know.
what
I'm very confused these days.
it is. And then that's what Ken Honda talks about, isn't it? He says, like thinking about your bank account, if you're in debt or if it's in there, it's just numbers on a piece of paper. It's actually not real. And I
Yeah.
loved it because when I was reading, I was listening to the book and I was like putting my energy out there as he was saying. I was walking up the street with the dogs and I found €2 coin on the floor. And I was
Wow.
like, this is meant to be. I've never found any money before in my, oh no, it's a lie. I have found money in my life, but I've never found it whilst I'm walking the dog before. It's usually in my coat pocket. That's
I
what it
did an
looks like.
experiment once. I think, is it called E squared? There's like a law of attraction exercise book. Pam Grout wrote it. I think it's called E squared. Basically, it's got these exercises in it where you prove to yourself that the law of attraction works. And one of the first exercises was manifest something today, like have clear in your mind in the morning what it is you want to manifest, and then see if you've got it by the end of today. So I thought, right, I'm going to see if I can get someone to give me £5 for no reason. So that evening, I went to a meeting. It was like multi-level marketing thing. So we sold supplements, and there was this girl in my team who was doing a meeting where she was talking about nutrition and supplements with a view to selling, and I went to support her. So the meeting went really well. She sold quite a few things, and I went up to congratulate her, and she said, "Oh, take this for your petrol." It was a £5 note. And I was like, I don't need that for my petrol. She's like, no, I insist. You've been so good. Please have this for your petrol. And she gave me this £5 note.
I'm speechless.
Mad, isn't it? It works.
It is.
Money
I,
is energy, definitely.
I think we're going to have to find that book and put it in the descriptions of this podcast.
Yeah.
I think that might be. So, has there ever been a time where you've struggled with money and it's kind of like your mindset has helped you to be able to like bring that back? Because obviously you must have struggled slightly when you had your son.
Gosh. Oh, well, I struggled a lot more before I had him when I lived on my own. So, like lots of people, particularly in healthcare, they do the course, but they have no clue how to make it earn. And a lot of people also who work in alternative medicine, particularly, have this attitude of, I can't possibly charge for doing something I love so much.
Okay.
Whereas you look at your professional footballers who love their job, no one minds that they earn millions doing that job. But, for some reason, therapists, people who are doing it from a caring space, don't like earning for it. So I
Okay.
was one of those. And I had to work full time to support myself and my business. And then I worked the business evenings and weekends. But because the tax office saw that I had two jobs, two incomes basically, I was being emergency taxed for years, which left me with virtually nothing to live on. So quite often, like my car would break down and I couldn't afford to repair the car. So I had to walk everywhere or get public transport. There were times when clients didn't show up, so I didn't get paid and I had no money to go and buy food shopping with. Um, People would get like my parents would say, well, what do you want for Christmas or what do you want for your birthday? And I'd be like, can you just chip in towards some car insurance because I can't afford to insure the car. Like it was bad. Um, so yeah, that was quite a low, and that lasted several years. And then one year I made a New Year's resolution to not complain about money at all, not say anything negative about money for a whole year.
Okay.
And I actually managed to stick to it. That's the only time I've managed to stick to a resolution, thank goodness, because it did change things. So within about 6 weeks, I got a 10% pay rise. I got a promotion at work and a 10% pay rise. And then later that year, I moved up north and there was a photography competition in the village where I lived. And so I just took my camera out early one morning for a walk, and it was like misty November morning. Um, and there was a canal there. So I got this really nice, pretty picture of the canal and the canal boats in the mist, sent it into the competition, won £100. So, lots of nice little things started happening when I stopped complaining about money. And it kind of went from there, really. And then later on, when I met my partner, so we got together in about the May, June time. And then I moved in with him 8 months later, but I was being bullied at work, like relentlessly bullied every day.
Okay.
And it wore me down and down and down, as these things do.
You do.
And eventually I reached a point where I couldn't be there anymore. I had to leave, but I had nothing else to go for. And I just said, there's no way I can ever work for anyone else again after this. It's like, I've just got to go full time working for myself. But my outgoings at that point were £1,000 a month, and I could not come anywhere close to covering that, certainly not first off. So bless him, my partner covered the shortfall, and we went through all of his savings.
Oh, bless him. But like, it worked.
It worked, but the guilt I felt was phenomenal.
Was it about the money itself, about the savings? Is that the guilt that it
Yeah,
was?
because he'd spent years saving that up, and I just plowed through it. Bless his heart. And that, because guilt is no good for you at all. It's no good
It
for yourself.
really isn't, is
It's just
it?
like the worst thing ever. And I could feel myself getting dragged down and down and down, and it was pulling me really low. And I was just like, this is no good. You have to drop this guilt. You have to just, get rid of it. So I decided not to feel guilty, and then things started to turn around again. So yeah, it's the link between mindset and money, I think, is really fascinating.
I agree. I think it's kind of like it's really hard, isn't it, when you're selling out of desperation. Like I think prospects feel that slightly, and it's kind of like it's hard because you are desperate, but you need your mindset to know you're not desperate because it's going to cost.
Yeah,
It's
I've
kind of
I've been
like
there. We've all been there, haven't we?
we
But yeah,
have.
you're right. I think your tone of voice changes, your body language changes, and
Yeah,
people do pick up on that.
it definitely does. And I think journaling about it, talking about it, feeling like reading about it, like the psychology of money and the happy money things, like totally change the way that you present yourself. Like,
Yeah,
I watched a podcast with like a Diary of a CEO one, and it had Daniel Priestley. It had a lady, and I'm sure she was called Chloe, and I didn't know who she was, but I've researched her since. And it had Alex Amosi, and she was saying how women sell more when they wear makeup, and men sell more when they wear suits. And Alex Amosi went like this at himself. She went, yeah, but there's a point where like less is more because you don't need to prove yourself anymore. And I was
yeah.
like, that's really strange that like we would sell more wearing makeup, but is it the makeup or is it how we feel about ourselves when we actually wear it? That's
I've
what I want.
experimented with that as well, and it works. Get up, do your hair nicely, put your makeup on, put your best clothes on, go to work. And
Yes.
again, I think probably your posture changes, your facial expressions change, and you do talk like you're more confident.
Yeah,
It
I
makes a
agree.
difference.
It is. It's a whole mindset thing, isn't it? It's not.
But there's also differences between men and women. So I read somewhere that self-employed men earn on average 42% more than self-employed women.
I need to look that up.
That
That's
is, if that's true, it's a hell of a pay gap for doing exactly the same job. And, from what I've seen, looking at what men charge versus what women charge for the same job, I think there's probably a bit of truth in that. But that comes down to confidence, doesn't it?
I think it does. I did
Mm.
a bit of research. I remember many moons ago, I got asked to do a talk on networking, and I did the difference between the way men and women network because I feel that, and it's true to myself, by the way, so I'm not putting everyone in the same boat. But if I don't like somebody, if I can't click with that person, they could have the best solution to my problem. I can't work with them.
Yeah, that's true.
Men can do that. Men
Yeah,
don't see it as a personal
not a heart
relationship the
connection.
same. There's
No,
no heart, no. And they can't, not saying they would, I mean, they would prefer to work with somebody that they liked, but if
yeah,
somebody has the solution to their problem at a better rate or knowing that it's better, they'll choose that person that they dislike over the person that they do. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. I just can't do it. As
no,
a woman, I
no.
just can't. And it's so maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And
Yeah,
I mean, there has certainly have been times where I've like had a one-to-one with someone who's got something that I need, and I've been kicking myself because I'm like, I've signed up to what they're doing, and there's been a little niggling voice at the back of my mind going, "Not sure this is a good idea. I
yeah,
think I regret this." And I go, "No, no, it's fine. Like she says she can do it. Let's do it." And it's just been an epic fail.
yeah. I
And I
think
don't do that anymore. If my gut feeling is that that's not going to work, it's not going to work, and we
no,
can not go
that's
there.
I think that's an age thing as well, that
Yeah,
Hannah.
yeah.
I think it becomes easier with age to do that, doesn't it? Because I think
Mm,
we've been people pleased for a lot of a time of our life. So,
yeah,
but yeah, oh, we want to help people. Like I've bought things from people that I don't necessarily need sometimes because I like them and I want to help them out. Like, and I'm like, I should not do that. I've got to look after my own money, and it's kind of, but you do, and sometimes it's worth it. By the way, like little things like going to charity, stuff like that. Like I'm there
that's
more than
fine.
that's fine. But if
Slightly
it's stuff
weird
that I'm
Christmas
trying to,
cards and stuff like that. But
yeah. But if it's people pleasing, it needs to stop.
what's the weirdest thing you've bought then from someone that you didn't want or need?
Um, a hair product I didn't need.
And what did you do with it?
I tried to use it, tried, but it didn't work, and I just didn't have the like. I couldn't say anything.
Oh,
It's
dear.
like yes,
But it's not just me.
no, but it's nice to help little small businesses, and I'm a big believer
Yeah.
of it. As like I do use Amazon, and I do, and especially I'm more in Spain than I do in the UK
Mhm.
because we don't have so many like small businesses here. But if I can find something in a small business, I would much prefer to buy it from that small business than I would
Absolutely.
order it from Amazon. But sometimes it's a must. I can't always. I can't. I'd like to say I don't use it, but I maybe need to do a goal of how many times that I spend on Amazon rather than
Yeah.
spending. That would be a really good goal for 2026.
Yeah.
I think. So, but yeah, it's easier. It is easier in the UK because of Etsy and things like that. But I'm sure Etsy does happen in Spain, but it's not selling the same kind of stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, that's interesting. So, thinking about like financial independence then, like what advice would you give to somebody who is struggling to balance a business with caring for maybe somebody like a parent or a grandparent or a child or like a partner? Like what would you say about kind of what mindset do you need to be in to be able to do that?
It's an interesting one because it's not all about mindset, it's about practical skills as well. And you have to have a balance of the two. So there is a bit of a caveat to this because I think at the moment things are particularly tricky out there in the outside world.
Okay.
And even those of us who are really looking after our mindset and trying to stay as high vibe as we can, sometimes that's not quite enough to get the results that we would have been getting 2 years ago
Okay.
because times are strange, people are strange, and we're just going to have to kind of ride this storm out to a degree and then it will get better. Nothing stays the same, does it? It's like you never have this kind of ideally your growth would be like this. It's
It
not
does
how
not.
it's not how the world works. Nothing works like that. It's this.
Yes, it is.
And at the moment it's extra turbulent out there in the outside world. So you still need to mind your mindset. but you also need the practical skills. So I've always been quite strong on mindset, but my practical skills were hopeless. And
Okay.
if that's you, I would say go and find a good business coach, because they will teach you how to market yourself, how to sell, which is people hate selling, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And I hated selling, but actually, when it was explained to me what I needed to do, it became very easy.
Yeah, when you change your thought process from being about selling to offering a solution,
Yeah.
then actually it becomes a lot easier.
Mm.
I still say now, by the way, I'm not a great salesperson, but I'm a great problem solver.
Mm.
That's kind of how I create. So when I start a meeting, my whole thing is, how can I help this person? Not what can I
Yeah.
sell them? It's like, how can I help this person?
Mm.
And sometimes my products aren't even what they need. And then
No.
it's kind of like, I'm more than happy to point them to something else if I am not right.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, isn't it? It's just understanding about but I think a lot of people in the health industry, by the way, they get into business. Because this is my ideal client. So I know this inside out. And people in the health space, they get into business because they love what they do, but they don't want to be a business owner. That's not actually why they come, that's what they get into
No.
business for. And I've helped so many like physiotherapists, chiropractors, gym owners, like because they're struggling, because they grow, because they're really good at what they do. And
Yeah.
then suddenly they become a juggler between marketing, the team, the
Yeah.
premises, like their finances. And they're like, they need help because they
They
just
do.
don't.
And like, from my point of view, I qualified 26 odd years ago now. There were, I think, 40 of us on the course that qualified. I think there's maybe eight still in practice.
Wow, do you keep in touch with them?
Yeah, there's a festival that my institute that I belong to run every year, and I bump into quite a few of them there. Um, but yeah, they just fall by the wayside because they cannot make it earn a living, and it is not the easiest profession to earn a living in. There's no two ways about it.
No.
But it's so sad, particularly at the moment when people are losing access to healthcare, like they can't get a GP appointment, they can't even get through to the GP surgery to make an appointment. A&E is overrun, you can't get a hospital bed. This is actually really quite serious.
It is. It is.
And it's getting worse, and it will continue to get worse before it gets better. And in the meantime, there are herbs in your garden and growing around where you live and spices in your kitchen that, if you knew how to use them, could possibly keep you out of hospital. If you catch whatever it is early enough and treat it quickly, you could avoid hospital, or your child could avoid hospital. You just need to know how to use them. And to me, that's where the herbalists are really needing to step up, at the moment, because we are heading from national crisis with our healthcare. We're already in one, aren't we, really?
I think you are.
Yes.
Like I put a post on yesterday, so I had to get some new blood pressure tablets. Not something I want to be on. I've lost weight to try and get them off my list, but that
Yeah.
didn't work either. And I put a post on social media yesterday because I got an appointment within 24 hours, and then my prescription cost me 25 cents. I was like,
Brilliant.
there's lots of democracy in Spain that frustrate me, but our health service is not one of them at
Well,
all.
yeah, I had the same. I was on holiday in Tenerife a couple of years ago, and I needed urgent antibiotics for an ear infection, and I literally ran to the surgery to get there before it closed, and I came out 20 minutes later having had a proper examination and every antibiotic preparation I could walk out with. And it cost me
Yeah.
€90, and I'm like, that was worth all of that.
And that's on private, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's private
and I
healthcare.
literally walked in off the street. The nurse did the interpretation, got the exam done, got everything sorted, and was like, I wouldn't mind paying for that level of service to just be able to have the care you need within 20 minutes,
Yes,
which is
yes.
what I offer. This is the frustrating
That's
thing. This is
it.
what I do. But do people want to pay for it? No. It's like really hard when you live in a
It's the
country where
mindset of
it
like
is, because we have the
what
NHS.
it is because the NHS has been available for so long. I
Yeah,
think it is educating people that there is other options, isn't it? Like,
it is. We have a lot of groundwork to do, certainly in herbalism. because a lot of people, most people don't understand it. Most people have never really heard of a medical herbalist. They don't understand that we're trained to the same level as GPs. They don't understand all the extra bits. We can do clinical examinations like a GP can. We can interpret bloods like a GP can. We can write to your doctor. We can advocate for you. We can pull together all of the stuff that you got from your wider healthcare team and put it back to you in a way that you can understand. So it's not just about herbal medicine. We can see red flags. We can see potential early warning signs before you can, and then we can refer you on for tests. It's not simply about taking herbs, but most people don't realize this. And, the frustrating thing for me is that I've sat in recently on a couple of private consultations where a person's paid privately £250 for half an hour. And in return for that, they've had 25 minutes of small talk and 5 minutes of reasonable medical questions and gone out with virtually nothing. Whereas half an hour with me is like full on non-stop questions. And you
I
are
can
out the door.
imagine, Hannah, I can
Yeah, you're
imagine.
out the door in half an hour with your bottle of medicine. And there's a bit of small talk if you want it, but it's all about getting the job done. And
It
I
is.
charge a fraction of that.
Yeah, it's strange because, like, again, I think it's what people perceive, and I think that's
Okay.
the it. And I don't think it's just in your industry. I think it's everywhere. There's a lot of noise out there at the minute, and it's really hard to cut through that noise, isn't it?
Yeah,
To things. So, but yeah, it is. I think that's a really good explanation. So thank you, because I really appreciate. Like, I understand more about what you do now as well.
yeah.
So, if you could go back to 26 years and give yourself a bit of advice on finances and money, what would it be?
Yeah, business coach. You think that because you've done your degree in herbal medicine, that's all you need. You need to go and get another degree in business. Not a degree, but you need to learn how to run a business. It is a skill in itself.
It is. I
And
think we should be taught it at school. I really do believe it should be taught at
yeah, absolutely.
school.
So unless you're from an entrepreneurial family and you've been learning since you were 6 how to run a business, um, you're probably going to need to invest some time and money into learning how to run a business.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
really, really good
so
advice.
I wrote a book a couple of years ago based on all the things I've done wrong over the years and all the lessons I've learned through bitter experience and from my health coach. And so I put everything into a book, and that's for healthcare practitioners.
What's your book called, Hannah?
Rather aptly, it's called Limited.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that title.
So I kind of wrote it for herbalists just because I was so frustrated that so many talented herbalists were not able to run a business and then they're going off to work in Sainsbury's or somewhere.
Yeah.
But they're needed out there in the world and they're not doing it. But for anyone working in healthcare or coaching or anything like that. And it talks about the mindset, but also the practical skills, like how to sell, like how to market, like how to network, and all the nuts and bolts of how to run a business. So yeah, people seem to like it.
Good.
I
Good.
read it myself sometimes and go, oh, I should do that. I
You
should
should
follow
read.
my own advice in my book and actually do some of that.
I was wondering if I should reread my own book as well.
Yes.
I'd learn
We could do a
something.
swap. Do you want to do a swap?
Yeah, we'll do a swap.
Cool.
No, but maybe we should just read our own as well at the same time. But
Yeah.
yeah, because it's really, I've got 25 years experience of business. I've been grown it. I've moved out from the country that and ran it from there, and I've sold it. I've got all this thing, and now
Mm.
starting a new business. I'm all back to square one. So
Yeah,
all networking and stuff, which is good. And I'm enjoying it. You enjoy networking as well, don't you?
I do. It's
Yeah.
nice, isn't it? How lovely to kind of have a good excuse to natter with the girls and the boys,
And the boys, yeah.
and in the name of growing your business, like
So
the boys know.
yeah, I know, like you said before about the fact that we're in turbulent times. And I lived through one recession in 2008 with my business, and it was difficult. I actually did get a part-time job because even though I didn't lose any clients, I didn't gain any new ones either for a long time. It was
Yeah,
quite difficult.
need trust sometimes, eh?
Yeah, and But like, where do you see your business and where do you see herbalists going in 5 years where other people like in your industry will be able to help?
I think it's a really good time to be a herbalist. If we can just get through this kind of rough patch, I think it's a great time to be a herbalist. I don't know whether you saw recently, but Stephen Bartlett had Simon Mills, who was one of my lecturers
Okay.
at herb school. He's been a herbalist since forever. And he was originally a GP, and Stephen Bartlett interviewed him on Diary of a CEO about 5, 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
2 hour long interview, and within a week it had like 2.5 million hits. So that's now 2.5 million people who know about herbalism that didn't know before. I also think that people are going to get back into growing and making their own herbal remedies again, partly because they won't have much choice. But to me, it's about grounding yourself in very turbulent times. And there is no better way to do that than to go out, forage your herbs, turn them into medicine, take the medicine and feel better. So I think it's a great time to be a herbalist. And for me personally, I'm heading a little bit more esoteric.
Okay.
So I discovered astrology about 30 years ago. Came home from a year in Australia, wasn't in a great headspace, and got dragged along to this astrology evening class in a bid to cheer me up, and got completely hooked on it. So I studied what they call natal astrology. So it's looking at your own birth chart and your own design and understanding your really good parts and your more difficult parts, and just having more compassion for yourself because you can understand how you tick. So then I kind of got into work and running a business, and I had a family, and it kind of astrology went on the back burner a little bit. But I started talking to a number of herbalists and homeopaths who use medical astrology for their diagnosis, and they were saying it's like phenomenal for the really tricky cases that you can't explain medically. You look at the astrology and it's all there like reading a book, and then you can go forward with your treatment and the treatment works. So I went to this class ages ago where someone put a medical astrology chart up on the wall, and the class had to interpret it and say what was wrong with that person. And everyone said the same thing, and they got it absolutely spot on right. So it's like, I need to learn how to do that. So I'm doing this very complicated medical astrology course at the moment. But to me, it's not just about what's going on for that person at that particular point in time. Again, it's about helping them to understand themselves, to love themselves, and to treat themselves with more respect and more self-compassion, because that to me is the ultimate medicine. Like, if you can live like that, you will eat the right foods, you will have good boundaries in your relationships, you will have good self-esteem, etc., etc., and you will stay healthy ultimately long term. So that to me is where it's at. So I'm doing my medical astrology course, finishes next spring, and I'm going to try and squeeze in an esoteric astrology level 1 before that in the new year. And so
Nice.
I think I'll always be a herbalist. I'm like a stick of rock. If you cut me in half, I'd say herbs. But the astrology to me pulls together everything I've been doing for the last 30 years into a nice, neat package. And if I can learn it in a way that I can help other people to understand themselves in a really simple way, because astrology can be super complicated. I think to me that feels like a new calling. That's my menopausal mission.
That's not menopausal. That's like amazing. And you're right. I think like I do the similar thing with numbers. I make something that people find complicated really simple. And I think that's
Mm.
the key, isn't it? It's making understanding complex things, but actually not having the attitude that you want to keep it to yourself. It's having the attitude that you want to share so that people understand themselves.
Exactly. And it's been my dilemma for so long, because I'm like, I really love this. People really need to hear this, but I cannot work out how to make it simple for people to use.
Mm-mm.
And I've found a lady now who has figured that out. So I'm going to train with her.
Exciting
Uh,
times.
Very exciting. Feels right. And I've had to go through a bit of a crisis this summer to get there. It's been worth it.
Good.
But as sometimes happens, you have to kind of really have a bit of a tough time first, and then the lights go on and you can see your way forward. So yeah,
Nice.
interesting.
So, for anyone who wants to get hold of you, Hannah, where can they find you?
I'm just about everywhere really in one guise or another. So my main business is called Physic Health Consulting, and that specializes in menopause, so natural ways through menopause, particularly for women who've had cancer or have some reason why they can't take HRT. So that's at www.physichealth.uk.
Yeah.
And then the sidekick to that is called herbology. Because I realised I'm actually here in South Shropshire. I'm the only practicing medical herbalist in South Shropshire now, which is a massive catchment area. And I just thought I need to do some generalist work as well. So that is herbology. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Herbology Clinic. So
Okay. Thank you
yeah,
very much. Well, thank you
cool.
so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank
I
you.
have honestly, I have loved every minute of that, and I hope everyone else has. I've probably learned a thing or two along the way as well. So, but yes, thank you so much. You've been a pleasure to speak to, as always, by the way.
Oh,
So, and yeah, thank you very much.
thank you.